My fiancé texted, "I gave your mom's heirloom necklace to my sister. You never officially proposed with it anyway." My deceased mother had left it for my future wife. I replied, "I see." Then I involved the police, my attorney, and her parents. When the detective explained the difference between a gift and theft, I 31 male am a commercial architect, and up until 3 weeks ago, I shared a house with my fiancé. We had been together for 4 years. We were in that comfortable phase where joint bank accounts were being discussed and we were actively touring wedding venues. We weren't officially engaged with a ring on her finger yet, but the timeline was set. My mother passed away from ovarian cancer when I was 22. Before she died, she updated her will and explicitly left behind a velvet box containing her prized possession, a custom-made antique platinum necklace featuring a prominent cushion-cut sapphire surrounded by diamonds. The appraisal paperwork from last year valued it at $48,000. Her written instruction was clear. It was for my future wife to wear on our wedding day. It was not an engagement ring. It was a family heirloom meant to be gifted when the vows were imminent. I kept the necklace, along with the appraisal documents, in a biometric fire safe in my home office. Fiancée knew about the safe. She knew what was inside it. She also knew the combination to the backup keypad because I gave it to her in case of a medical emergency involving my passport or medical directives. A few weeks ago, a Thursday afternoon, I came home early from the firm. I needed to grab a thumb drive from my office desk. I glanced at the safe. The digital display was illuminated, indicating it had been recently accessed. The heavy steel door wasn't fully latched. I pulled it open. The velvet box was gone. I didn't panic. I assumed fiancé had moved it, perhaps showing it to a friend or cleaning the shelf. I pulled out my phone and texted her. "Hey, did you open the office safe today? The necklace box is missing." 10 minutes passed. Then my phone buzzed. "Yeah, I took it." I stopped walking. I stood in the middle of the hallway and typed back, "Why? Where is it?" Her response came quickly, casually. "I gave it to sister. She has a huge gala tonight for her real estate firm, and she needed a statement piece. It's perfect with her dress. Besides, you never officially proposed with it anyway. It's just sitting there gathering dust." I read the text 3 times. The sheer audacity of the words took a moment to fully process. Sister is 25, notoriously irresponsible, and has a history of maxing out credit cards and losing expensive things. More importantly, it wasn't fiancé's property to lend. It was my inheritance. I didn't argue. I didn't send a wall of text demanding she get it back. I simply replied, "I see." Then I walked into the kitchen, picked up a notepad, wrote down the serial numbers from the appraisal document I had scanned into my laptop, and dialed the non-emergency line for the local police department. I explained that a piece of jewelry valued at nearly $50,000 had been removed from my home without my consent. Because of the high dollar amount, they dispatched an officer to take a report immediately. While I waited, I called my attorney. He handles contracts for my firm, but is well-versed in civil litigation. She admitted it via text. My attorney said, his voice entirely devoid of emotion, "That's a written confession to an authorized removal of property. When the police arrive, be calm. Show them the text. Show them the appraisal. Establish ownership. Do not warn her." 30 minutes later, a patrol car pulled into my driveway. An officer stepped out, followed shortly by a detective in plain clothes who happened to be in the sector, and heard the call regarding high-value stolen goods. I showed them the safe. I showed them my mother's will proving ownership. I showed them the appraisal. Then I handed the detective my phone. He read the text messages. He looked up at me, his expression tightening. "She gave a $48,000 heirloom to a third party without your permission." "Yes," I said. "Do you want to press charges?" "I want the necklace back," I replied. "If pressing charges is a mechanism required to secure it, then yes." Right at that moment, the front door unlocked. Fiancée walked in, dropping her keys on the console table. "Hey, I'm home. Why is there a police cruiser in there?" She stopped dead in her tracks when she saw the uniformed officer and the detective standing in our living room, holding my phone. "What is going on?" she demanded, her voice rising in pitch. She looked at me, her eyes narrowing. "Are you seriously throwing a tantrum over a necklace?" I told you sister's borrowing it. The detective stepped forward. Did you remove a platinum and sapphire necklace from that safe? Fiancée crossed her arms, adopting a stance of aggressive defense. I am his fiancée. We live together. It's essentially my necklace anyway. His just being dramatic. I am asking you a direct question, the detective said, his tone dropping an octave. Did you take the item? Yes, for my sister. She's bringing it back tomorrow. Tell them to leave, she snapped at me. The detective pulled out a small notebook. Under state law, residing in a home does not confer ownership of premarital, inherited assets kept in a locked receptacle. The item in question is valued in excess of the threshold for felony grand larceny. You have just confessed to taking it and transferring it to a third party. Fiancée's confident posture evaporated. The color drained from her face. Felony. Fiancée repeated, the word hanging in the air. She looked from the detective to me, her expression morphing from shock into a hardened glare. You are completely overreacting. Tell him you're overreacting. It was a gift. You said it was for your future wife. I am your future wife. The detective didn't look at me. He kept his eyes fixed on her. A promise of a future gift is not a legal transfer of ownership. Furthermore, a conditional gift, like an engagement ring or a wedding present, remains a property of the giver until a condition of marriage is met. Taking it from a locked safe without explicit, present-tense permission is theft. The difference between a gift and theft is consent, and you just admitted in writing that you lacked it. Fiancée scoffed, crossing her arms tighter. She was backed into a corner, but instead of apologizing, she doubled down. We share life. We share expenses. I have the code to the safe. He gave it to me. I gave you the backup code for medical emergencies and passport access, I stated calmly, breaking my silence. Not to act as a jewelry library for sister. I am not calling her, Fiancée snapped, pointing a finger at me. She is at the downtown Marriott for her firm's annual charity gala. She is trying to secure promotion. I am not ruining her night, and I am not humiliating her in front of her bosses over your petty control issues. You don't have to call her, the detective said, his voice flat. He turned to the uniformed officer. Call dispatch. Have a unit sent to the downtown Marriott. We need to secure the stolen property before it gets fenced, lost, or damaged. Panic finally pierced Fiancée's entitled exterior. She pulled out her phone, her hands shaking slightly, but she didn't dial sister. She dialed her mother. She put the phone on speaker. Mom. He called the cops. Fiancée blurted out the second the line connected. He's trying to have sister arrested at her gala because I let her borrow that old necklace for the night. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. Her mother's voice filtered through the speaker, sharp and dripping with condescension. Put him on the phone. Right now. I'm listening, I said, leaning against the doorframe of the living room. What is wrong with you? Her mother demanded. You are traumatizing my daughters over a piece of metal and some rocks. You are practically married. What belongs to you belongs to her. Call off the police immediately. Sister will bring it back tomorrow morning, and we are going to have a very serious conversation about your controlling behavior. The necklace is appraised at $48,000, I replied, keeping my voice entirely devoid of the anger currently boiling under my skin. It is an inheritance from my deceased mother. It is not community property. We are not married, and sister has a documented history of losing her belongings. The police are going to the Marriott. If you send cops to my daughter's corporate event, you will ruin her career. Her mother shrieked. She needs to look the part tonight. You are acting like a petulant child. I will not allow you to embarrass our family. You aren't in a position to allow or disallow anything, I said. Fiancée committed grand larceny. Fiancée ended the call, her face flushed red with fury. You are destroying our relationship. You destroyed it the second you opened that safe. I counted. The uniformed officer's radio crackled. Dispatch confirmed a unit was en route to the Marriott. The detective looked at Fiancée. I strongly suggest you text your sister and tell her to meet the officers in the lobby. If they have to walk into the ballroom to locate her, it will be significantly more disruptive. Fiancée glared at me with absolute venom. She typed furiously on her phone. 5 minutes passed in absolute, suffocating silence. The tension in the living room was thick enough to choke on. Then my phone chimed. It wasn't from Fiancée. It was an unknown number. It was a text from Sister. "You are psycho. I'm taking it off now. I hope she leaves you." A second text followed immediately. "The clasp is stuck. I can't get it off. Tell the cops to wait." I showed the text to the detective. He sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Officer, tell the unit of the merit to proceed inside. Suspect is claiming she cannot remove the item. We need to secure it." The waiting was suffocating. Fiancée paced the length of the living room, her heels clicking aggressively against the hardwood. She didn't look remorseful. She looked inconvenienced. "You are going to drop this," she said, stopping to point a perfectly manicured finger at me. "When Sister brings it back, you are going to call these cops off, apologize to my family, and we are going to counseling. You have serious trust issues." I leaned against the wall. "I have a stolen inheritance. There is a difference." "It's a piece of jewelry," she screamed, dropping all pretense of composure. "I was going to wear it eventually anyway. You are embarrassing me on purpose because you're intimidated by my family's success. My mother is right. You're a petulant child." The detective didn't intervene in our domestic dispute. He was looking down at his phone, waiting for the update from the downtown unit. A tense 10 minutes crawled by. Fiancée began aggressively throwing items into a duffel bag, dramatically announcing she was going to stay at her parents' house because she didn't feel safe around a man who would weaponize the police against her. Then, the detective's radio crackled. He stepped into the hallway to take the call. When he returned 2 minutes later, his jaw was set. "Okay, here is the situation," the detective said, addressing both of us but focusing on Fiancée. "Our officers located your sister in the lobby of the Marriott. She was attempting to leave through a service exit. When confronted, she initially claimed the necklace was a cubic zirconian knockoff she bought online." Fiancée stopped packing. She looked confused. Why would she say that? "Because she was trying to avoid handing it over," the detective replied bluntly. When the officers informed her they had the appraisal and serial numbers, she became uncooperative. She went into a restroom, locked the door, and attempted to force the necklace off. She snapped the platinum clasp and damaged the setting around the sapphire. The room went entirely silent. I felt a cold, sharp spike of anger, but I forced my breathing to remain steady. "They have secured the necklace," the detective continued. "However, because the property was damaged during the commission of the theft, and she attempted to flee with stolen goods, Sister has been placed under arrest for possession of stolen property and criminal mischief." Fiancée dropped her duffel bag. It hit the floor with a heavy thud. "Arrested? No, you can't arrest her. She's at a corporate gala." "She is currently in the back of a squad car," the detective corrected. He then turned fully toward Fiancée, pulling a pair of steel handcuffs from his belt. "And based on your written confession, your verbal admission here tonight, and the recovery of the stolen item, I'm placing you under arrest for felony grand larceny." "What?" Fiancée shrieked, backing away. "You can't do that. I live here. I'm his fiancée." "Turn around and place your hand behind your back," the detective instructed, his voice leaving absolutely no room for negotiation. The uniformed officer stepped forward to assist. "Tell them to stop." Fiancée yelled at me, genuine terror finally replacing the entitlement in her eyes. "Please, call my dad. Tell them this is a mistake." "It isn't a mistake," I said quietly. "You stole from my dead mother to play dress-up. Actions have consequences." The metallic click of the handcuffs ratcheting shut over her wrist was the loudest sound in the house. The officer began reciting her Miranda rights. Just as he reached the part about the right to an attorney, the front door swung open. Her mother and her father marched inside. They must have driven straight over after the phone call. Her father, a wealthy corporate executive who was entirely accustomed to throwing money at problems until they disappeared, froze when he saw his daughter in handcuffs. "What in the hell is going on here?" Her father roared, his face turning a deep shade of purple. He marched toward the detective. "Take those off her right now. Do you have any idea who I am?" "So, step back," the uniformed officer commanded, placing a hand on his duty belt. "I will have your badge." Her mother screamed, rushing forward and trying to grab Fiancée's arm. You are arresting an innocent woman over domestic misunderstanding. He gave her the code. He practically forced her to take it. If you touch me or the suspect again, you will be arrested for interfering with a police investigation, the detective warned, stepping smoothly between them. Your daughter confessed to stealing a $48,000 asset. Your other daughter was just arrested downtown for possessing and damaging that same asset. This is no longer a domestic dispute. It is a criminal matter. Her father whipped his head toward me. The pure, unadulterated entitlement radiated off him. You listen to me, you little punk. You are going to call the district attorney right now. You are going to sign whatever waiver you need to sign, and you are going to drop this. If you don't, I will bury you in civil suits. I will have my lawyers bleed you dry until you are living on the street. Are you threatening a victim of a crime in front of law enforcement? My attorney's voice suddenly echoed from the hallway. I had texted him the address right after calling 911, and he had let himself in through the open front door. He walked into the living room, adjusting his tie, looking incredibly calm. And who the hell are you? Her father snapped. I am his legal counsel, my attorney said smoothly. And I just heard you attempt to extort and threaten a witness. Officer, I trust that will be noted in the police report. It will be, the detective confirmed. He grabbed Fiancée by the bicep. Let's go. Fiancée began to sob. Ugly, loud, desperate sobs. She looked at me over her shoulder as I walked her toward the door. Please, please don't do this. I love you. I didn't answer. I just watched them walk her out to the cruiser. Her mother and her father stood in my living room, staring at the open front door where their daughter had just been escorted out in handcuffs. The silence was heavy. Her father turned to me. His face was a mask of pure rage. You are a dead man. I am going to ruin your career, your finances, and your life. My attorney stepped precisely between us. You are currently trespassing. If you are not off this property in exactly 30 seconds, I will have the officers who are still parked at the curb return to arrest you for criminal trespass and witness intimidation. The clock starts now. Her father glared, but the reality of the situation finally pierced his arrogance. He grabbed her mother by the arm, and they marched out of my house. The next 48 hours moved with clinical precision. Fiancée and sister spent the night in the county holding facility before being arraigned the following morning. Her father hired a high-powered defense firm and posted their bail. He assumed his money would act as a shield. He was wrong. A week later, the dirty trick started. My attorney received a formal letter from her father's lawyers. They threatened a frivolous civil lawsuit against me for intentional infliction of emotional distress. They also included a fabricated affidavit, signed by a mother, claiming she was present when I supposedly verbally gifted the necklace to Fiancée a month prior, attempting to establish it as a legal property. They expected me to fold under the threat of expensive, drawn-out litigation. They expected me to call the district attorney and refuse to cooperate with a criminal prosecution. I didn't budge. Instead, I gave my attorney the green light to initiate a full-fledged legal counteroffensive. First, we bypassed the civil threat entirely. My attorney forwarded a police report, which explicitly documented her father threatening to use his company's legal resources to bleed me dry, directly to the Ethics and Compliance Board of her father's publicly traded corporation. We attached a formal preservation of evidence demand, citing his intent to misuse corporate assets for personal extortion. Second, we handed the fabricated affidavit straight to the district attorney prosecuting the theft. Supplying a knowingly false statement to influence a criminal proceeding is a crime. The DA threatened her mother with a perjury and obstruction charge if she didn't retract it. She retracted it within 24 hours. Third, I formally served Fiancée with a 30-day notice to vacate the premises. Because of the pending felony charges and the documented threats from her family, my attorney easily secured a temporary restraining order. She was legally barred from returning to the house. Her father had to hire a moving company to pack her belongings, and they were forced to do so under the strict supervision of a civil standby officer while I sat in my office. The consequences hit their family like a freight train. Sister was the first to fall. She was arrested at a major corporate networking event in front of her managing partners. The real estate firm fired her the very next morning under their morality clause. Facing overwhelming evidence, she pled down to a misdemeanor charge of criminal mischief to avoid jail time. She was sentenced to community service and probation, but her reputation in the local real estate market was permanently destroyed. Her father was next. The corporate board of directors did not take kindly to a senior executive using his position to threaten a crime victim, especially when it was thoroughly documented in a police report. To avoid a public relations scandal, the board forced him into early retirement. He lost his executive standing and a massive chunk of his uninvested stock options. Fiancée tried to fight her charges the longest. Her expensive lawyers attempted every procedural delay possible. However, the legal definition of theft in our state was unambiguous. She took an item from a locked safe without permission, and she admitted to it in writing. The text message was irrefutable. After 6 months of legal posturing, the district attorney presented her with a final ultimatum: go to trial and face potential prison sentence for felony grand larceny, or take a plea deal. She took the deal. She pled guilty to a reduced felony charge. She avoided prison, but she was sentenced to 5 years of probation. Furthermore, the judge ordered mandatory financial restitution. She was legally forced to pay me $8,500 to cover the specialized repairs required to fix the broken platinum clasp and the damaged sapphire setting that sister had ruined. Because Fiancée worked in the financial sector, a felony theft conviction on her background check triggered an automatic termination from her banking job. She lost her career, her home, and her relationship in a single evening.